To understand the birth of editing and film language, we have to look at some simple storytelling principles. Let's take this example from Georges Melies' A Trip to the Moon, made in 1902. In the first scene, some scientists decide to build a rocket. The decision to build a rocket is a cause. The effect is that they build the rocket, launch the rocket, and go to the moon. So in simple storytelling terms, it adheres to something that you might see in a theatre or read in a book. Simple cause and effect. The cause is that they build the rocket, the effect is that they go to the moon. Nice, simple storytelling principles. As presented in this film, A Trip to the Moon, cause and effect is shown in a manner that is just like watching a piece of theatre. Simple long shots with performers coming onto the stage to suggest a new event, or sometimes leaving the stage to suggest an event is finished. Although it's been filmed, there is no film language here that we would recognise today. The visual language employed in this film is simply that of a theatre production. There is a narrative, yes. There is cause and effect, yes. But it is visually deployed in the manner of theatre. The American Edwin S. Porter was impressed by the Frenchman Georges Méliès and his work with A Trip to the Moon. However, he was able to use editing and shot choice to visually heighten the sense of cause and effect in a story. In his film, The Life of an American Fireman, made in 1903, he did two innovative things. The first was to use a close-up of a hand pulling a fire alarm. This was then cut to a shot of the fireman being raised by the alarm that was pulled. What Porter has done here is add dramatic emphasis to the story by directing our eyes towards an action in a way that the theatre can't. It is here that we can start to see how film developed its own language and moved away from the language of the theatre, which was found in Méliès' work. The second thing that Porter did, or you could argue the second thing that he discovered in this cut from the close-up of the alarm to the long shot of the fireman, was to suggest two different events were going on at the same time in two different places. Not only did the edit from the alarm to the fireman add some dramatic emphasis, it also implied that the two events were happening at the same time, but in different locations. He used this technique again when he cuts from outside the blazing building to the victim inside that the firemen are hoping to rescue. The audience were able to grasp that the two events were occurring at the same time, and the cut between the two locations, outside the building and inside the building, added some dynamism and tension to the rescue. Limited, yes, in what we'd understand cross-cutting to do today, but nevertheless it did add that little sense of tension to the scene. So Porter's discovery or invention was twofold. Number one, the use of a close-up to add dramatic emphasis. And number two, the use of cutting between two events going on at the same time in order to heighten tension. Both techniques emphasize the telling of a story in a more visually dramatic manner. But, more importantly, both were things that you couldn't exactly do in a theatre. And it's here that editing and the language of film begins.